Okay. I think we're live, but I don't think we're live on all platforms. Give me 1 second here, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, cool. What's good, everybody? We live. We out here. We striving out here. Okay, so there's a lot. Well, not really a lot, but okay. So the last 2 days we've been talking about starting over, and we've gotten some great. I've gotten some great feedback from that, and so I think we might try to make this thing a little series. We're gonna see how this works out. Okay, so what we talked about 2 days ago was stop starting over. Right, there's some of us who just love to self-sabotage, and whether if it's because of the rush of just building from scratch, or whether it's especially for those of us that are like the freelancers, the entrepreneurs, or even if it's just school, whatever it is, right? Even if it's just a hobby, some of us, we just have this adrenaline kick to just start from the bottom. Nothing's wrong with that, but you got to keep the momentum. You got to build it up. So that's either with friendships too, or relationships, or family, whatever it is, right? Just starting fresh. And I think that one of the ways that some people can handle that is just go traveling, right? Just go to your new destination just for a season and then come back over, right? And quite frankly, that's what we talked about yesterday. We talked about, instead of starting over, you just got to shift sometimes because of the circumstances. So we looked at Abraham, Genesis 12, and in the same chapter of his calling to go to Canaan, he actually ended up in Canaan, in the promised land, but then there was a famine. Sometimes there can be a famine in the place that God called you to go to, and you reach the spot. I think that's actually harder to deal with. Not when you're working so hard and trying to get to the spot, but when you actually got to the spot and then you got to leave the spot, and then you got to build, you got to just occupy, and then you got to come back. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Instead of talking about shifting over, we're going to talk about taking over, and we're going to look at Genesis 39. So this is Joseph, right? If anybody has like a starting over narrative, it's Joseph. Joseph is consistently, from him being thrown in a ditch, or really it's more of a pit, to then him being in prison, and then from him going to like I can't remember who Potiphar really was. Was he like the chief commander? Let's just say that he's some high-ranking official in the Egyptian army. So he ends up working in his house, but then he ends up going back into the prison, and then he gets pulled out of the prison after being forgotten after 2 years. Like, he has a starting over narrative. It's crazy. So some of us have that too, but the common thread in Joseph's narrative, in his stories, remember, I think we talked about in in the Brandable Minute, we talk about the difference between a narrative and a story. A story is a unit of an event. A narrative is a set of those units. So it's a set of stories. So Joseph's got a set of stories about starting over and over and over. So here we go, where we look at this thing and we see that Joseph is now taken down to Egypt, chapter 39 of Genesis. And it says that Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, came, the captain of the guard. Oh, there it is. We didn't, thought I didn't. He's the captain of the guard. So yeah, he's one of those high-ranking officials. An Egyptian brought him from the Ishmaelites, or not brought, but bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him down there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he was a successful man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all he did to prosper in his hand. So Joseph found favor in his sight and served him. Then he made him overseer of his house, and all that he had, he put under his authority. So it was from that time that he had made him the overseer of his house, and all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was all on that he had in the house and in the field. Okay, so we're going to stop there. Here's the thing, guys. This actually didn't just happen in Potiphar's house, the captain of the guard. This also happened in the prison. Same thing. Prison guard was like, okay, this man has got he's got some leadership chops. Let's go ahead and put him in position. It's the same exact thing, guys. What's happening here is that Joseph is occupying his space to the maximum capacity. What does that mean? It sounds like a lot of words. Well, it's really just saying that wherever he is, he's putting all into it. That's really what all it's about, right? So, okay, so you got to start over. That's fine. Nothing's wrong with that, especially if it isn't your fault. In Abraham's situation, it wasn't his fault. In Joseph's situation, it wasn't his fault, right? It was his brothers. But the point is this: he was building on some characteristics. He was building on maybe perhaps humility. Imagine God giving you, or imagine you having this vision or this dream, and everything just lining up the way that it's supposed to line up from the beginning, and you've never had to work hard a day in your life. You've never had any sort of opposition a day in your life. Joseph would have been a spoiled prime minister of Egypt, because that's what he ends up becoming towards the end. At the end of all of this, he becomes more powerful than Potiphar himself, the captain of the guard. He's like second in command, third in command to Pharaoh. I think it's second in command. The point is this, guys: whatever place that you're in, do your best to yes, I'm going to say it, take over, dominate in that place. So we talked about the dip, right? It's the long slog of the work between your entry point of whatever it is, your profession, your hobby, the skill that you're trying to build, and then being the master, the expertise. And the harder and the longer the slog, the ugly drudgery work, the more value that you produce. This is what Joseph is now going through. Can you imagine if he was just thrown in the pit and all of a sudden God gave him a vision, and then all of a sudden the Pharaoh found out about this guy, and then he would be so, if not arrogant, just so comfortable, right? He went through a lot of stuff. So I want to tell you that the majority of us that's probably starting over, you're starting over for a reason. And it's not necessarily because you didn't get the lesson the first time. I think we should dispel that myth. Oh, well, God is trying to teach you something. Maybe he is, but what if it's not necessarily trying to teach you something versus just building something that's in you? And I guess you can kind of equate the two, but sometimes it's not even about the fact that you've done something wrong and he needs to, teach you. More so, there are just things that you aren't aware of that he's trying to draw out of you. So, okay, here's the other thing. Story time. So this morning, I actually, I'm on my way to trying to get to the 50 burpees, right? And what's happened over the last couple days is that I tend to not lose count, but it's like my mind is kind of focusing on, okay, just do the next one, just do the next one. And sometimes I think I forget I'm counting when I'm not, because I still am. But when I end up finishing the set, I'm doubting whether or not I actually completed it. I'm wondering, did I actually get to, like, today was number 47. I'm like, did I actually get to burpee number 47 today? And what I realize is that a lot of people, right? This is me, so I can't even say a lot of people. Let's talk about me. When I reach a goal, I will doubt whether or not I actually put in, we talked about 1 rep at a time, whether or not I actually put in each and every rep to get to that specific number. I doubt myself. And it's natural. Okay, so let me give you another example. Not too long ago, I had a friend of mine that asked me, what value are you bringing to the friendship? Now, some of y'all, I don't know if y'all got friends like that, but sometimes it's good to have, assessments and things like that. But the way that it was asked was kind of in a way where it's like there was this doubt, like you haven't brought anything to the table, right? And I remember, I remember this clearly. I said, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm not really sure. And it brings me back to today, right? Where you put in the work, you're doing the takeover, right? You're maximizing, but for some reason in your mind, you are trying to think your way out of the reality that you actually put it in. Guys, it's I don't want to call it a sickness, but there is a level of self-doubt that some of us deal with where, and perhaps maybe a lot of high achievers or just people in general who are trying to strive for something deal with, where it's like, I reached it, but did I really reach it the way that I should have reached it? Like you'll get the grade, but you're like, but did I really deserve the grade? Yes, you deserved it. Like, you have to accept that, because if you don't, what's going to happen is you're either going to self-sabotage, you're either going to force yourself to go back into a place like for Joseph. Like, can you imagine if he was prime minister and he said, I don't deserve this. I deserve to go back to, being the captain's right-hand man, not Pharaoh's right-hand man. Like, the point is this, guys, and for a lot of us, sometimes you have to reframe how you are adding value. So in that particular friendship, I had to realize, hold on, wait a minute. Maybe you weren't bringing anything to the table per se. Maybe you brought the table. Maybe you created the table. Maybe you built and manufactured the table for other people to put their stuff on. Maybe you were the builder, right? You have to begin to start reframing how you are the person who is valuable in either a relationship or either in the job that you're trying to get or in school or for the business that you're trying to build. Because if you don't, it's going to be difficult to try to find that affirmation from somebody else. And if you do find that from someone else, you become latched onto those people. And then if they don't respond, if one day they turn on you, if they don't have any sense of, they just got other priorities and they're not really thinking about you because they got other things that's on their plate, you will then start to feel like you're not worth it. So instead of, when it's time to start over, instead of waiting for the season to pass and wondering whether or not if this is something that is going to be long, don't worry about all of that. Work through it, guys. Work through it. Work in it. Okay, so I'm going to go back. To this chapter here. Give me 1 second, because I think that there might be a piece that we might have missed. So Joseph has had a huge pattern of starting over and over and over and over, right? And we just talked about this idea that some of us, we may be conquering, we may be taking over, but our self-doubt will kill us. Just like for me this morning, I really thought that my burpees, I was like, man, maybe I skipped some numbers. Even if I skip numbers, I hit the 40 mark. Even if sometimes, sometimes you're tired. So you go from 45 and you just dump to 47. Sometimes it can happen. But the point is, I hit a benchmark. So set some benchmarks. We talked about that too, right? Get a focus planner, get some kind of a way to track and to log your progress so that when you do go into default of like, man, I don't know, I don't think I actually hit the mark, you actually can look back and say, yep, I did hit it. So take a look at this again, guys, because this is crazy, right? It says that Joseph found favor in his sight. That's Potiphar's sight, and he served him. Okay. I'm also thinking about Luke, right? I believe it's Luke chapter 2:52, where Jesus also, when he found out who he was, he grew in favor with God and man. So he was in tune spiritually, right? And then he also socially was able to still build relationships. He was still approachable. He was still the person who was able to serve and know that while serving, it was beneficial to other people. All right. That's all I got, guys. That's it. For some of you, you're probably waiting for something to happen. Stop waiting. Work through it. Be on the takeover. If you're going to shift over, take over where you are, right? That's the first thing. Some of us are taking over. Some of us are killing the game, but we can't see it. Somehow the doubt that's in us is like, man, I don't think I'm doing this the right way. Or I don't think that did I really do it? Yes, you did. I'm here to tell you that yes, you did. There are other people that are out there that they might have different messages. The reason why I'm telling you this is because I'm telling me this. So I'm talking to people who are like me, or maybe one day might have to actually ask themselves the question, did I really do it? Yes, you did do it. Walk in that faith, guys. All right. So that's it for this one. Now, I don't know if we're going to do, like a starting over thing. I think that maybe this is something that's worth exploring. So we talked about Abraham, talked about Joseph. Maybe we take one character and just kind of keep refining, and building on top of it. Who knows? But the point is this. We all are going to have a starting over moment. And when you have that moment, you have a decision to make. You can either cry about it, and nothing's wrong with crying. I told y'all, like for the first time in years, I cried like a week ago. You can either try to abandon that moment by saying, hey, listen, this ain't for me. I'm good. I'm just going to go ahead and work over here and just stay in my lane over here, even though the calling is over here, right? You can, some of us overwork to try to put away certain ideas and thoughts and things like that. We try to just occupy our mind with too much productivity instead of being still. Man, there's so many different ways that we deal with this starting over. What I'm trying to tell you is today, when you are forced in a position, some of us are forced in it. Sometimes a medical condition happens. When you're forced in this thing, guys, accept it, accept the reality, move in that new place and take it over. And you know how you take it over? Through service. Okay, that's probably how we should end this. This is the tricky thing about going live because I haven't really fully prepared some of these things. Not yet, because this is still fresh. So I'm literally trying to build these ideas and thoughts as we're going along. But the way that you take over a space, it's here now. The way that you take over this space is by serving other people, and you serve them in an immaculate, well, not immaculate, because immaculate means perfect, and a lot of us deal with perfectionism, but you serve them to the best of your ability. Perfect or not, people will see that. People will see the genuine intention. People will see that maybe you didn't bring something to the table. Maybe you brought the table for other people to then be able to build on top of. Okay. So that's what we got. I will see you guys in the next one. And guys, have a great day. This is Wednesday. We're at the top of the week. Let's go ahead and make it count. See you guys later.